Hi, everybody. Welcome. Sports in Shorts of Sorts. Episode 20. We've come a long way. If you're watching, you can see new camera. This could be good or bad depending how this all looks. I remember when HD came out in porn. You know what? Let's just stop there. As we normally do with each episode, we're going to represent our jerseys as the episode number pertains. So when I think number 20, one of the best running backs of all time, one of the best that I grew up watching, Barry Sanders. Fortunately, he had to play his whole career in Detroit with the Lions, so not a lot of wins on the resume, but individual accolades are out of the park. Third overall pick out of Oklahoma State, where he was a beast, but he'd win Offensive Rookie of the Year, 2 Offensive Player of the Year awards throughout his career, the 97 NFL MVP for a guy that small, but as a kid, he was someone like you wanted to watch him. Just the way he juke and stop and go, it was something else. And as like a Packers fan, we'd see him twice a year, so the little 5'8", like I said, he was insane. He's in the college Hall of Fame. His number 20's retired in Detroit, obviously. But like he's one of the best running backs ever, I think. But when you still think of 20, there's also like there's other positions and there's 2 safeties that come to mind. Ed Reed with the Ravens. He's got to be, one of, if not the best safeties ever. And then don't forget Brian Dawkins with the Eagles. Like, Ed Reed, he went to 9 Pro Bowls, 5 first team pro, 3 second team pro. He won Defense Player of the Year, 2004. And, he's won the Super Bowl with the Ravens. Like, he went to the U. He's numbers retired by the Ravens, like I said, and a Hall of Famer. And Brian Dawkins, he was no slouch himself. He earned the nickname Weapon X, not because he was Wolverine or anything. While he was damn close, he punished people on the field. And, like, he's a Hall of Famer with his number retired by the Eagles. So 2 safeties that were just awesome. And there's one more NFL player I'll mention. He was in the quarterback position. Rondé Barber, a twin. His brother Tiki, great running back for the Giants. But Rondé put up huge numbers in Tampa Bay. I got to watch him when I was in England. My dad and I went to the Buccaneers-Patriots game, so I got to check him out in Wembley. But, he was a Super Bowl winner, part of that team in Super Bowl 38. 3-time first team All-Pro, 2-time second team, record for most consecutive starts by a DB. That's durability is important. One of the best abilities is availability. So shout out to him. But going from the gridiron to the hardwood, one of my favorite players, obviously I'm a Spurs fan, but Manu Ginobili, a late second round pick, like 57. And he was all about the team. He could have started on damn near every team, but a lot of times he accepted to come off the bench, a role player. He won 6th Man of the Year for that. He was a 2-time All-Star still. He made the All-NBA third team a few times. Like, he was a 4-time winner with the Spurs as part of that amazing dynasty. Like I said, my favorite team. But it's neither here nor there. And one of the cool things on his resume is the gold medal at the Olympics in Athens. Everybody remembers another one of my guys, Tim Duncan, as part of the bronze winning USA team. But what Ginobili and that Argentina team did, they had some good players. They had Oberto, like they had Nocioni. There were some good players on that team, but still pretty stunning to see. And like Ginobili did get a bronze in the '08 Olympics too, so amazing things. And like when my parents were in England, they got to see him at the London Olympics. Like my dad showed me pictures. I was like, holy shit, that's cool. And another legendary guard, Gary Payton, the glove. His kid's in the league now, Gary Payton the second. Some people call the mitten. I don't like that name. But anyway, the glove, one of the best trash talkers ever. You'd see his mouth going the whole game as he was shutting you down. People did not want to go at him. He was like the Sonics made the finals and lost to MJ, but he did everything he could. He won Defensive Player in '96, and not a lot of guards win that. So all-end defensive team 9 times, 9-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Second, 2-time All-Third. Like Peyton, he did end up getting a championship as part of that Miami Heat team. But, man, he was a stud in college at Oregon State with the Beavers. But I'm hoping Seattle can get a team again. His number's retired there. Great player, won some Olympic goals. I'll give a shout out to Ray Allen. He was with the Sonics. He wore 34 there, but he did wear 20 with the Celtics when he hit that stupid three in the finals against the Spurs off the Chris Bosh rebound. But not like I remember that or anything. But yeah, we'll probably go more into him on number 34, that bastard. But anyway, last 20 I'll mention on the basketball court is boom, right here. Oh, it's back. New York, number 20. Sabrina Ionescu, one of the best female ballers right now. Remember at the All-Star game, she dropped 25 out of 27 in her final round in the three-point contest. You know, she's on the alternate cover of the 2K this year. You know, everybody's probably wanting the Kobe one because it's 24, but yeah, she's balling out. Going to the Diamond, I'll mention Frank Robinson. This is a little before my time, obviously, but a 14-time All-Star, 2-time champ with the Orioles, NL Rookie of the Year. He won the MVP in both leagues. He's the only person to do that. He won the NL, AL, so that's pretty crazy. Hit the Triple Crown in one of those MVP seasons. His number 20 is retired with the Reds, the Orioles, and the Cleveland Guardians now. So that's one impressive resume. Like, I didn't watch a lot of him play, but you look at that, I was like, damn. And another baseballer I'll mention, Mike Schmidt, 12-time All-Star, 10-time Gold Glove, a legend in Philly. If you mention Mike Schmidt in Philly, like, everybody knows. There's probably holidays based on that guy. But going to the hockey rink, only one I thought of was like Luc Robitaille. He was a feisty guy, 19 years in the NHL. He bounced around a bit, but his numbers retired in LA with the Kings. He put up some huge numbers. 13th on the all-time goal list, 668 goals, so good on him. But yeah, and I'd give a shout out to Tony Stewart. He rocked number 20 in NASCAR for a while, and he kind of killed a guy. YouTube that. It wasn't in NASCAR, but that's neither here nor there. But we'll segue weirdly from that to the British Open. The Open, as they call it a lot of times. But wow, what a beautiful course, that Royal Liverpool. Oh, it looked wonderful. I would have been all over it. There was some deep rough, but there were some big shots, tough bunkers, unpredictable weather. Our final round had tons of rain coming down, just some spitting, but that's England weather, And yeah, raise your hand if you had Brian Harman winning this. Yeah, no, I don't think anyone called that. He'd only won twice on tour, last in 2017. So he's been in contention a bunch, but what he did, he just went way ahead of everybody and had people chase him, and they could not catch up. Like, he finished 13 under, 6 ahead of second place. Like, wow. And there were some big names coming after him. Rory was there. We had some guys chasing him, and just didn't work, but he'll go down in history. He's a major winner. Congrats to him. I had picked Victor Hovland. He had a pretty good round. It was up and down, or a tournament. It was up and down, as a lot of people did play there. But one big thing in him in the first round, he did get pooped on by a bird. It was pretty ridiculous. You could see him. He's like, what the? I just got shit on. It was pretty ridiculous, but I don't know why people call that lucky, by the way. When they're like, hey, you got shit on by a bird, congrats, lucky. Like, why is this lucky? This is a real hassle to me. But anyway, congrats again to Harman for doing what he had to do. He was big. He made big shots when he needed to. And, in those later holes, and the announcers keep saying, oh, well, this is where people have hit. There's been a 10 on this hole. And you're like, damn, is he going to hit a 10? Obviously, he didn't. He played great. He finished. Well done. F1 returned. The Hungarian Grand Prix went down. Qualifying was a little rowdy. George Russell didn't even get out of Q1. You had Carlos Sainz not getting out of Q2. Max Verstappen won pole. That's what I say every race. Lewis Hamilton won pole. Only by 9 thousandths of a second. You're like, wow, Max didn't win pole? We might have a different winner. So Sunday the race goes down, Oh, and we had the McLarens in the second row. I gotta mention that because they've been lighting it up as of late. But anyway, back to the race Sunday. Not a good start for Lewis. He gets in a little bit of traffic. Verstappen goes the first, and As well in that lap, you had the two French drivers for Alpine kind of getting involved. Gasly and Ocon, they were both out of the race like within seconds of the race starting, I guess. But yeah, Max took any hopes I had of parity in this race and just smashed him. Once he was ahead, there was no looking back. No one could get close to him. He won by 33.7 seconds over second place. Lando Norris, though, that's cool. That's cool for Lando, his second consecutive podium. Good for Lando, yay. But yeah, the dominance of Verstappen continues. Seventh in a row. 12th in a row for Red Bull, which is a new record, beating, ironically, McLaren, which they set in '88. But they've been head and shoulders above everyone this year. I guess the only stick it to them at the race was when Verstappen had his trophy down and Norris went to pop his bottle. It knocked the trophy down. It broke in half. So, I mean, that's one way to stick it. We'll break a trophy. Oh, I gotta have a sip here. Oh, excuse me, that was a loud gulp, too. Anyway, Lando was on the podium again, second time. Sergio Perez got third. More Red Bull dominance. And Danny Ricciardo, he returned to the track, got 13th. So good on him. He's been itching to get back. And Ferrari's not too happy. 8th and 9th for Leclerc and Sainz. And Russell getting that terrible 18th starting spot. Ended up in 6th. So good on, Georgie. But that's it. Next week, right back at it at the Spa in Belgium for the Belgian Grand Prix. And that'll be the last race before the summer break. So one more big F1 race there. Hopefully someone other than Verstappen can figure this out. But we shall see. And baseball, the Blue Jays kind of had a busy week there. They started off with the Padres, and Manoah went to the mound against Musgrove. Those two have had very different years, and it was another quick one for Manoah. Pete Walker, the pitching coach, went out to talk to Manoah, and he must have been shit talking the ref who was within earshot, and the ref tossed him. But there were some questionable calls that game that really kind of shaped the game, but it didn't go well for the Jays. They dropped that one 9-1, and then they had Berrios going to the mound against Yu Darvish. That was a pretty good battle, but Padres would do it again. They'd take that one 2-0, kind of a wasted performance by Berrios because it was a really good game there. But the third one would not go as well for the Jays. I mean, yeah, they'd come out and they'd look like things wouldn't go all well because you had Blake Snell. You're like, we're gonna get swept. And then, yeah, they turned things around. Got a nice homer by Kirk in the 8th, and they'd win 4-0, avoiding the sweep and going to Seattle, which was, a pretty wild series because you always have the fans coming across the border. It's sometimes who's the home crowd here, but yeah, it would be a back and forth game. Teoscar Hernandez, former Blue Jay, would get a late hit, giving the Mariners a little walk-off victory in the first game. But then game 2 would come around. You have Gosman to the mound, so you're like, oh, well, we'd have a pretty good chance in this one. And this one was really back and forth. Like, home runs galore. You'd have the Mariners popping a bunch, 3 solo home runs. The Jays would come back and hit their 3 home runs. It was pretty cool. A really fun game, but Seattle would go up. They'd go get a 9-7 lead, and then Biggio would get one late, but it wouldn't be enough. 2 straight losses, pattern here. So hey, if maybe they do what they did in the Padres series and they'd steal one, and that's just what they did. Another back and forth game. Like Mariners Jays games are super exciting, and this one Manoah started and he did way better. So 5 and a third inning. And 6 strikeouts. He did what he needed to do. He's coming back. The game between the Padres and the Mariners were significantly different. He had some adversity against the Padres with some shitty calls, which got a pitching coach thrown out. But it didn't go well for him there. This game, he faced a little bit of adversity there, gave up a few runs, but did what he had to do, got his strikeouts, put his team in a position to win. So congrats for avoiding 2 sweeps. I mean, going 2-6 in your last 8 isn't ideal. Winning 2 out of your last 6 isn't ideal. but it's something. And hopefully they can use this as they stay on the West Coast, take on the LA Dodgers, and then after that they'll take on another LA team, the the LA Angels back in Toronto. So that'll be cool. But I had to mention this other AL East battle. I always mention the Jays, but Orioles and Rays, like this was for the top of the AL. This is who the Jays are chasing, or trying to chase when they win. But yeah, we all know how difficult this is. Tyler Glasnow came out for the first game for the Tampa Bay Rays, and you got to look him up. Like he looks just like Oppenheimer actor. I haven't seen it yet. I want to watch this movie. It looks awesome, but he looks just like the pitcher. It's crazy. He'd go up against Cal Gibson. We'd go to extra innings, and yeah, the Orioles would take that one. So, yeah, it's crazy. That one would go their way. Tampa Bay would do what they need to do and take the second game. And then third game, the Orioles took it. This was a 4-game series. I almost said cereal. Sorry. 4-game series. And then the Orioles took the last one. So they took 3 out of 4. Leapfrog the Rays. Take the AL East lead and the AL lead. Like, this division's a nightmare. And they're leading the nightmare. They're the Freddy Kruegers right now, so good on them. Baltimore is something else to watch, and what a cool park that is, Camden Yard. I think that'd be a fun one to check out. But yeah, I have to mention the #1 overall pick signing for the MLB. The Pittsburgh Pirates signed him. Paul Skeens, $9.2 million bonus, highest ever. But he was so dominant at LSU, and Pirates need all the help they can get. So we'll see what happens. And last MLB talk here. Hall of Fame went down. A few guys got inducted Sunday. Scott Rowland and Fred McGriff. They're both going in. Some were like, this isn't a very, sexy class, as they say. Rowland, you needed 75% to get inducted. He made it with 76.3. He's a World Series winner, 7-time All-Star, 8-time Gold Glove, very good defender at third base, and he won Rookie of the Year. So his resume isn't awful. And Fred McGriff, he made it a little differently. His 10-year eligibility window had passed, but he was unanimously elected by the Contemporary Era Committee. Regardless how he got there, I think he deserves to be in. Some are like, well, look at his numbers. He's short of the 500 home run club. He's at 493. It's pretty close. And, he's under 300 for his career, and he never hit the 3,000 club. So, he hit 284. I think he was at 2490, but his numbers are pretty solid. And the thing that is big is his peers, as their numbers were all jumping in leaps and bounds, his were consistent. So he played consistent his whole career because, he wasn't a PED user. So I think you got to take that into consideration. And, he did win a ring with the Braves. But, yeah, I think two, worthy guys, I guess. Congrats. It's weird saying they're in and Bonds isn't. But, it's... I don't know. That's a whole another discussion. But we'll leave baseball for a second. The NFL had big news. The Commanders are officially sold to Josh Harris. Dan Snyder's tenure is finally done. A good line I read in the Athletic is, he's got as many team name changes as playoff wins. So, yeah, not ideal to have on the resume. But this Josh Harris, he's got owning teams in his cap. Part owner of the 76ers, owner of the New Jersey Devils, Crystal Palace in the Premier League, God knows what else. But, yeah, that's crazy. And this team the franchise has gone down a bit in popularity and whatnot, but they're still valued over $6 billion. It just shows you how big they are for the area. And, yeah, it's a weird prize for Snyder to run a company with so much shit going on behind the scenes, and you're awarded with, here's $6 billion just to leave. I mean, they did give him a parting gift of some sort. They slapped him with a $60 million fine following an investigation, corroborated allegations of misconduct, and financial improprieties made by former team employees. Pretty big fine, $60 million, but when you compare it to $6 billion, that's not much. And Magic Johnson's part of the new ownership group. It's just cool. Anytime Magic's involved, it seems to be good. And before we'll leave the NFL, everybody's talking about running backs right now. Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, their extension time has passed, so they didn't re-sign with a big extension, and they'd have to take the franchise tag. Tony Pollard of the Cowboys didn't sign an extension. He took the tag, but this is weird times. These are dominant players, like Jacobs led the league in rushing, and like Barkley does everything for the Giants. So I don't know. People are like they're replaceable. They keep showing this stat of what the highest earner or the top running back for each Super Bowl winning team and what they earned. And a lot of time it's under $1 million. Like LeGarrette Blount made 800,000 one year when the Eagles won, and like it's just these. Some of these numbers are just crazy, but yeah, I don't know. You got to think that these guys are going to get paid, but Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson, those days of being workhorses are just gone. It's running back by committees everywhere. Barkley had that ACL tear. People maybe they're a little hesitant to give him money, but what they do, it's crazy. I guess there was this rumor that all these running backs got together, had some Zoom calls on what they can do, but it's bigger than that. I don't know. It seems like a lot of people are saying it starts with the rookie contract. If you can shorten that contract, have these running backs coming out while they're still in their prime, because I guess once they pass 28, it's all downhill from here. Wow, that's rough. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope these guys can get compensated correctly, but I don't know. People are like, oh, they make enough money anyway. But hey, let's see what happens. This is crazy. What's running backs need help too. But big news in the world: FIFA Women's World Cup is on, right? Thursday it was their opening match as well in New Zealand. I think the time difference is so weird. But New Zealand took on Norway. They were big underdogs in that game. They'd score, winning their first ever World Cup match, like at the event, in front of a World Cup record crowd for the Women's World Cup. They'd win 1-0 in a close game. It was awesome. Australia took on Ireland. That was a great game, back and forth. Australia got to go on a penalty, and they won the game. But yeah, it's been great footy. Everybody's pumped with, Canada. Our expectations are through the roof. We won the Olympic gold in Japan. We've been close. We thought this is our time. And, like, I don't know, maybe we came out of the gate a little feeling that pressure. Nigeria came out, and wow, they came out and fought. Our GOAT, Christine Sinclair, got taken down the box. We're like, here we go. She's going to score. She's going to score in 6 World Cups. This is crazy. Only get robbed. It wasn't her best pen, but give kudos to the Nigerian keeper, Nandozie. She made a sick save, and like the game would end 0-0. So this game coming up for Canada against Ireland, I believe, Wednesday our time. Again, this time difference is wild, but this game against Ireland is a damn near must win because Australia won their game. Pardon me, just getting a little dry mouth there, but yeah, super big game. And it wasn't just Canada kind of having a tough game here. Like, Euro Cup winners England, they barely beat Haiti. They went up 1-0 on a penalty. Needed a big save by their keeper. Otherwise, that could have been a draw. Sweden had to have a comeback victory against South Africa. And, like, everybody's saying how this is the U.S. again. And, like, it's their time to win again. But they barely beat Vietnam. Well, I say barely. They got 3 goals against Vietnam, but this is a team that beat Thailand the last World Cup 13-0. So, these teams that are showing up, they're not just happy to be there. They're trying to make names for themselves. So I got to give credit to that, and why World Cup football is so good. And in more news, you had the footy world, your Cristiano Ronaldo piping up saying he'll never join the MLS. The Saudi league's better. I mean, I don't know what else you want the guy to say. He's getting like $217 million a year to play for Al Nassr in the Saudi league. So Messi will get around $50 to $60 million a year, and that's he gets equity with the franchise too. So it's been crazy, but I still think the MLS is a little better on the whole. You still have older, recognizable superstars coming over, like Busquets and Alaba joining Messi and Inter Miami. But, a lot of the big names they're going to the Saudi League, and not all of them are over the hill. So, some would say Busquets is, right? But, he had a pretty good outing with Inter Miami. We'll get more into that game later. But, yeah, you had hypocrisy screaming from the rooftops. Outspoken LGBTQ plus supporter Jordan Henderson. He's going to Saudi Arabia to play for Al Ettifaq. you know. Steven Gerrard's managing that team, Liverpool legend. These are big names. RC Lens in the Liga, they lost their captain Fofana to Al Nasser. You know, he's one of the best Liga midfielders last year, and some thought he might even go to the Premier League, but no, he's taken off. And Man City, they lost Riyad Mahrez. He's been a great player. He's part of that Leicester City winning team, so he's off to the Saudi League. But I don't know. Maybe they will leave the MLS in the dust. Right now, I think the MLS is still a little better, and they got that, huge Apple Plus contract, so I don't know. But they did have their All-Star game, the MLS. They took on Arsenal, and it was not ideal. Unless you're an Arsenal fan, because they really stuck it to the MLS All-Stars. 5-0. I mean, it's just an exhibition match, but now you're like, maybe Cristiano was on to something, but I don't know. We had Messi. He made his big debut for Inter Miami on Friday against Cruz Azul in a leagues matchup. And the Leagues Cup is an annual footy competition between MLS teams and Liga MX teams, which are teams in Mexico. And Inter Miami went up, and Messi wasn't even on. Then, in the second half, they brought him on. And unfortunately, it didn't help right away as Cruz Azul tied the game up. And Messi had a great setup for a goal, but it was offside by VAR. But, just out of a Hollywood script, like the 94th minute, Messi gets taken down. He's standing there looking at where he's going to put this, and just like he's done numerous times before, beautiful curling kick right into the top corner, winning the game. Crowd goes berserk. You could feel it through the screen. What he has brought to the MLS to Miami it's amazing. It's awesome. You had stars. You had LeBron James, Serena Williams, Kim Kardashian. Everybody came out to watch him. Everybody had their cameras out getting it. Owner David Beckham was over the moon. Him and his wife Paw Spice were there. It was a cool night, man. And like just getting the MLS out there, this is the kind of shit they need. So that's awesome. And not too much going down in basketball. There were a few Hall of Fame announcements I forgot to mention in the podcast, and they're big ones because, a few of them affect me as a Spurs fan. But you got Dirk Nowitzki going in, Disco Dirk, obviously one of the greatest big men ever. Dwayne Wade, easy shoe-in. Pau Gasol, that's a good one, especially for his international play as well with Spain. Tony Parker, that's awesome. That's slick. He's making it. He's got a Finals MVP, and he's won those rings with the Spurs. And his coach, Greg Popovich, my man, he's going in as well. So more kudos to the Spurs. And another assistant of the Spurs, Becky Hammon. She's current coach of the Aces. Hell of a player. She did great things with the Liberty, great things with the Spurs franchise, which are now the Aces. They used to be the Shooting Stars, I believe. But yeah, that's awesome. Always good for the Hall of Fame announcements, especially when it's got this much San Antonio flair. And the other news in the hoops, the Hornets, much like Washington, will have new owners. There's talks of the sale for a while. The Board of Governors approved it. Rick Schnell and Gabe Plotkin will be not as big names as the former owner. They'll be the new heads of the Charlotte Hornets. Michael Jordan will be leaving after 13 years. I guess he'll still be a minority, still have a minority stake, but pretty good earning, getting over $3 billion for. I believe he bought it for $250 million range. So, yeah, well done for MJ there. Gotta like that. But last court stuff we'll mention on the basketball court. WNBA returned after the All-Star break. Pretty good indication of where the season's going. The Aces are still dominant at 21-2. No one in the West really looks like they can touch them, except for the Dallas Wings, who I've been talking about all year, with Arike Ogbonawale. I always get her name wrong, but she is a stud. I love watching her play. They're the only real competition, I think, in the West, and they have given the Aces one of their only 2 losses this year. So we'll see. In the East, the Liberty of work their way through their early struggles and look like the real deal. Jonquel Jones is kind of fitting in a bit. When you have a big 3 or 4 like that, it's like who's taking the shots, who's stepping back a bit. Chris Bosh, he did great at that with the Heat with their big 3. But Liberty, they're looking like they should be the ones to kind of face the Aces in the final. But don't count out the Connecticut Sun, and if the Mystics can get healthy in Washington, they could have a chance. But yeah, it's looking like the Aces are the runaway team. And Ice Cube's Big Three just concluded week 5. Haven't got too big into the Big Three much this year, but it's fun to see these older guys get back out there and do what they can do. And Slam Ball's back. I've seen some highlights. I haven't tuned into a game or anything yet, but it's cool seeing Slam Ball back. Reminds you of like Spike TV back in the day. You know, you'd watch some Slam Ball and some what is it, Greatest Warriors, where you'd put up samurai against, I don't know, ninjas of this country. It was a weird show. But Spike TV, that's not back. But Slam Ball's back. Yay. Trampoline basketball. Let's do it. I guess I will jump from there to today's short. I thought, this is episode 20. I got to think of what's one story I thought was really cool and fun. And I had to go, well, let's go back to Amsterdam. Well, it's one of my favorite places to go. I went there a few times. But this one, we'll go back to time machine, back to a 19-year-old Rennie. And you've met Brad before. He's been on the show. He was my travel partner. We went right to it. We started in Frankfurt. We had this Eurorail pass, so give us 8 days, individual days to do as much traveling in said day. So yeah, that's what we do. We'd set up a day and travel. We went down to Oktoberfest, which I've mentioned in another short. Maybe a little scrap between Brad and myself. But this one took us back up to Amsterdam, right? We'd go Frankfurt, down to Munich, and then we'd slither our way back up through the country into Amsterdam. And as we're walking through the train station with our bags and shit, someone's like, "Oh, hey, you're from Wisconsin?" I was like, "Whoa. What?" But I was wearing my Green Bay Packers shirt at the time. I was like, "Oh, derp." And I'm like, I see the connection. And I'm like, "No, we're from Canada." We're kind of talking a bit. And she's like, "We're leaving. You guys want these canal tickets?" So I'm like, awesome. Get free canal tickets. This is all right. And like, we leave the station and like, I don't know. I've seen a few train stations in Europe. I love the Amsterdam Central. It's beautiful. But as we're kind of, taking all this in, someone approaches us and they're like, "Don't be alarmed. My job is to bring people to like these hostels, and I get a kick, like a little payout of it." We're like, "Yeah, fuck it, why not? Let's do it." Which in hindsight, I'm like, well, good thing that you didn't lead us to a murder or anything. But this worked out. He taught us to our lodging, and it was a little tiny, but it was legit. So we're like, "Oh, thanks, man." We go up these stairs, a lot of stairs, and get to our little room, tiny, like 2 tiny ass beds next to each other, the tiniest little TV on this wardrobe. It was something, Brad opened the window, looked on the roof. You could see like soiled underwear, some garbage, some food trays. I'm like, awesome. But I was like, you know what? We're in Amsterdam. We've been here, like an hour. Let's get some cannabis, It's been a trip, I've had lots of people reach out and say like it's awesome on your trip of not drinking, which I've been like since December now. Awesome, thank you. But with cannabis, I still like, I don't smoke weed no more, but I don't smoke no less. So in saying that, we'll go back to our Amsterdam time here, and I'm a regular user. We hadn't had any for a while. We've been traveling in Munich and whatnot, so let's do it. Let's take part. So we go to a coffee shop, get it, we do it. Brad doesn't really do it, so he's just around feeling it, and I think he had a pull or two. I don't want to rat him out here, but I guess I kind of did. But did that. We were pretty fucked up. And this couple guys hanging out in the corner were like, "Hey, come sit with us." We're like, "Okay, again, I don't know. You're pretty hazy." So you go sit with them, and we're just kind of chilling, talking. One guy was a darker fella. He's Dutch, and the other a big Italian white dude, and we're talking a bit as much as we can. We're a little messed up, and then we see they just start doing coke. We're like, a lot of it. We're like, oh my god. And then this guy's getting heated, talking about how shitty America is. His brother was arrested there for having drugs. I'm like, well, maybe he should have had drugs. But anyway, we're laughing, and he's like, "Oh, what's so funny?" And I'm like, I don't know. They offer us drugs. We're like, no, we're good. And then we could pick up some kind of bad vibes coming, and we're like, I have these weird ways to get out of these situations. I'm like, oh, let's go meet our buddy to play pool. And the guy's like, what pool place? There's no pool place, like billiards. I'm like, well, we gotta go if that's the place we're supposed to meet them at. And they're like, what? So we just leave, and so confused. It's bright as fuck out. We were just in this dark coffee shop. We're squinting Tarantino trying to figure out where to go. There's tourists everywhere. We finally find the hostel. We're like, okay, let's chill a bit here for a bit. So that was just our like welcome to the city. A few nights later, like we go to this Belushi's we noticed, and it looked like a pretty sick deal for the day. 2-for-1 Stella Artois and €1 Jaeger shots. So we go up to the bar, we order 2 and 2. We do this for a while, and yeah, we were starting to feel it. And then soon we were joined by some randoms that wanted to chill. I don't know, we have a magnet just to talk to some fucked up random people, I guess. But anyway, we sit and we start chatting. You could see one was like a pimp and a prostitute. They were giving those vibes. I think something like that was going on. And considering the place we were, I don't know. We definitely thought that's what was going on. And we're talking a bit, and I'm like, let's use an alibi again. This time I wasn't like cannabis. I was like drunk, right? It's either two different feelings. So I was like, you know what? I need to have a joint. Maybe let's go, bud. And the pimp was like, here. And he's like already leading me outside. He's like, I got you, man. And Brad's still sitting there because this is all happening. So he's sitting with this prostitute. So once outside, Mr. Pimp pulls out his joint. We chill, indulge. It tastes a little different, but you know, it's Amsterdam. There's so many different strains. I'm like, whatever. So we're wrapping up. He's like, so, what do you think about the Cocoa Puff? I'm like, I have no idea what that means. And he's like, oh, you know, a little bit of weed where you sprinkle some Coke on it. Hence the Cocoa Puff name, I guess. Clever name, but I wasn't too pumped about it. First, you should probably tell someone before you do that. Granted, he's a pimp stranger I just met, so, you know, strangers aren't always your friends, but, yeah, this fucked me up. Come back inside. Brad had like a weird look on his face. He's in a full-blown conversation with the prostitute. I'll have to have him back on the show to indulge on what this conversation was about. Because he's got a whole other aspect of it. It's like the movie Vantage Point. We all just have these different. But anyway, yeah, I come back in. Obviously fucked up. Somehow we end up talking about wanting to go somewhere to eat. So yeah, we go outside. It's still, you know, it's a bright day. We're in this Belushi's bar. We're walking around. Again, this is like early evening. There's tourists out. There's families. And this is like the only time I ever had full washing machine vision. You know, like, you know, you're looking at a washing machine at a laundromat and it's doing the half spin, then a few fullies. That was like coming out of my eyes. That's what I saw. It was crazy. You know, the half spins and the full spins. I don't know how I didn't fall over. But I was kind of leaning on this prostitute to keep me up. And no, not keep me up like that. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, this is, yeah, I kept feeling like her going near the back of my pants. And I'm like, is she trying to play with my ass? Like, what is she doing? But in hindsight, she's trying to rob me, right? But luckily, when I travel, you keep everything in your front pockets. So if people are trying to do that, at least you could see them. But yeah, after this stumbling journey of just going down, rocking the spin cycle was over, and we ended up at this Chinese restaurant. And again, early evening, there's families enjoying their lovely travels, and before we could order anything, I look at Brad across the table and I'm like, I don't feel so. Whoa! It's just projecting like across the table. It's sliding, and you know, tables have that nice little slip on them, right? So if any liquids hit, they kind of slide, and it was pouring off the fucking table like a waterfall. It was not good. It was like stunt scenes in The Exorcist. It was flying. People are screaming. This big white ginger's making it rain like a damn Ipecac testing room. It was crazy. You know, we all get up because there's fucking puke everywhere and pouring down. And like our new friends, I guess, they're chatting with the staff, and I'm like, we gotta go, Brad. And he's like, well, let's see what happens here. I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here. So we get outside. I'm like, where's our hostel? I'm like, I don't know, like the drug and alcohol gods were looking down on us. It was literally a few doors down. So we run over, get up to the room, lay on our shitty beds, and just kind of chill a bit. And like that evening, I don't know if it was related or this was just a coincidence, but like I don't know, it must have been 1 or 2 in the morning. Just wake up to bang, 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 bang on the door, and I'm like, you could hear a foreign language that none of us knew. Brad looks over. He's like, "What do we do?" And I was just like, pull my blanket slowly over my head, and just wait it out. And it just stopped eventually, and they fucked off. So winning, but what a night in Amsterdam. You think you can just trust a pimp and a prostitute until you end up barfing at a Chinese restaurant. I guess lesson learned. But thanks for coming along again. Episode 20 in the books, new camera. I don't know. We'll see if this worked at all. I might have not. Might see a few more discrepancies in this mug. But again, thanks for coming along. Sports and Shorts of Sorts, episode 20. Awesome. Take care, guys. Ren City out.